Any other instruments we have here? So, in this time we have together today, I was thinking this week that we don't often take enough time in our type of modern lives to enter into a spirit of thanksgiving and praise. You know, just letting our hearts be opened and lifting our spirits. So we're going to begin and end with this kind of energy of letting yourself go into feeling thanks and gratitude to Spirit for our precious human lives, for this beautiful planet that we live on, for all of our blessings. So let us begin getting that energy going with the drumming. So feel that in your drumming, that type of drumming today, like a spirit of praise in our drumming, okay? So here we go. Let's have a wonderful, fun time with it. So what do you feel? Just shout out some words about what you feel. Celebration.
Energized.
Energized.
Exhilarated.
Somewhat.
Exhilarated.
Exhilarated.
Euphoria.
Euphoria.
Joy watching him.
Great. So a couple weeks ago we talked about the healing power of the drum, and it takes us into the alpha brain waves quite quickly, and that's a good place to be for relaxation and visions and healing of our whole neurological system. So it's true, drumming is good for us. It feels good and it's fun. I said last time that I've never led drumming when people didn't get happier. People get happy when you drum. So just let's take a deep breath and settle into your seats and feel your hips on the chair. We create our sacred space together by thanking the four directions. So we turn first to the east. You can see the bright sunshine coming through, and we greet you, guardians of the east. Thank you, high-flying eagle that sees from a higher perspective. And that's what we want to connect with today, a higher perspective on our lives and on our world. So eagle, come and be with us now. Fly high. Take us there today. Aho. Aho. And you can, stand up is good. Yeah, Carol started to stand up. And at the end, you can do something with me to mark the welcome. You know, like stomp your feet or clap your hands or say aho. Now we turn to the south. And in the south, we see smoke right now. And we know that in the south, we welcome the fire. It's hard to welcome the fire when it brings a lot of smoke in our eyes and lungs, but still, the fire has a tremendous purpose on planet Earth. Many purposes of cleansing, transformation, heat, giving us warmth, and giving us passionate inspiration. So we bless the fires. Great Spirit, we thank the fire that burns in each of our own souls for change, for passionate creativity. Come and be with us today, powers of the South. Renew our passion. Aho. All right, let's turn to the back wall, and that's the west. We're looking at the roots of the tree, some of us who can see this beautiful painting here. And the west is about maturity. It's about being grounded in maturity, but we often think of the element of water in the west. So great powers of the oceans, of the depths. We welcome the growing maturity in the human race. We need it. We need the wisdom of the depths. We need the wisdom of the great ones like the whales and the dolphins. Those great eyes that we imagine looking into of such wisdom. Come and be with us now on planet Earth, powers of the depths. The waters. Let's do that. We can stop. Okay. Now let's turn to the north. And in the north, we imagine the great mountain peaks with the white snow caps on them. And move your legs apart a little bit so you can feel yourself as a great mountain. You too are an axis mundi between the heavens and the earth. And powers of the north, we welcome you as representing the sturdy stability of the mountains, and yet the cycles of time of life and death and rebirth. We welcome you, both permanence and impermanence. Bless us today with that freedom, that liberation of perspective. Come and be with us now, powers of the north. Aho. Aho. All right. And then turn toward the front. And the last direction we bless is your heart. So you put your hands on your heart. Without you being here, nothing would happen. This is our place together that we're creating. So we bless our own hearts and our own beingness. And thank you each for being here. Thank you that you have brought the container of spirit here in your body temple. And now turn with a namaste prayer hand position to a person next to you and say namaste. Bless the children and have them go out after that. Okay, so let's sing this great song together. We are the world.
comes a time when we hear a certain call, when the world must come together as a one. There are people dying, and it's time to lend a hand to life, the greatest gift of all. We are the world, we are the children, we are the ones who make a brighter day, so let's stop giving. There's a choice we're making, we're saving our own lives. It's true, make a better day, just you and me. We can go on pretending day by day that someone somewhere will soon make a change. We are all a part of God's great big family, and the truth, you know, love is all we need. We are the world, we are the children, we are the ones who make a brighter day, so let's stop giving. There's a choice we're making, we're saving our own lives. It's true, make a better day, just you and me. Well, send them your heart, so they know that someone cares, and their lives will be stronger and free, as God has shown us by turning stone to bread. And so we all must lend a helping hand. We are the world, we are the children, we are the ones who make a brighter day, so let's start giving. There's a choice we're making, we're saving our own lives. It's true, make a better day, just you and me. When you're down and out and there seems no hope at all, but if you just believe, there's nowhere we can fall. We'll realize that change will only come when we stand together as one. We are the world, stand up. We are the children, we are the ones who make a brighter day, so let's start giving. There's a choice we're making, we're saving our own lives. It's true, make a better day, just you and me. We are the world, we are the children, we are the ones who make a brighter day, so let's start giving. There's a choice we're making, we're saving our lives. It's true, make a better day, just you and me. It's true, make a better day, just you and me. It's true, make a better day, just you and me.
You may be seated. Let's bring up the children and the teachers of our mystery school. So the theme that I've set for today is give to live so that you can live to give. Give to live until, or so that you can live to give. That first song, We Are the World, there's got to be a change in our world. And it's got to do with a new perspective on the economy, a new perspective on giving, a new perspective on distribution of goods. You know, we really are in a tremendous transition time on planet Earth, and it's both frightening at times and very exciting, because we always have been saying this for years here, but we are the ones we've been waiting for. And we've got creativity within us that each one of us are here to deliver. So coming to Unity, we try to get you excited about the visions that are happening inside of you. No matter what age we are, how young or how old, we're here to bring forth our creativity for the planet right now in small ways, big ways. So today our theme's about looking at what giving really means. So I've asked a few of you to read short quotes from various different famous and not so famous people. But Arlene, you've got one? You do. Just stand there.
From Mother Teresa. Love cannot remain by itself. It has no meaning. Love has to be put into action, and that action is service. Whatever form we are, able or disabled, rich or poor, it is not how much we do, but how much love we put into the doing. A lifelong sharing of love with others.
Mm-hmm. Great to have you read that, Mother Teresa one, Arlene. It so suits you too. And Carol, you got one?
Giving is profoundly transformative because it requires two people or entities, a giver, and a receiver, both of whom are affected by the act of giving. Everyone can give, and everyone can receive.
Thank you, Carol. Sheila.
From Henry Newman. Money has something to do with that intimate little place in your heart where you need security and don't want to give that away.
Read that one more time, because that's kind of a tricky one.
Money has something to do with that intimate little place in your heart where you need security and don't want to give that away.
This is from Walt Whitman. The habit of giving only enhances the desire to give.
Read that one more time, because it's short.
The habit of giving only enhances the desire to give.
Habit.
This is from Craig Gay. The single most subversive and ultimately redemptive idea that we can set loose within the capitalist world today is the simple recognition that life is a gift. We respond to God's gracious gift of the world by being gracious and generous with one another.
Are there any others out there?
From John Wesley, earn all you can, save all you can, and give all you can.
So giving, like the one that Carol read, is about relationship, the giver and the receiver. So I want to explore that today, the relationship between us as givers, us as receivers, others as givers and receivers, and Great Spirit, giving and receiving, the great reciprocity. So this next song takes us into that kind of energy, and it's another famous song from our youth, Lean on Me, all about relationship.
time in our lives, we all have pain, we all have sorrow. If we are wise, we know that there's always tomorrow. Lean on me when you're not strong, and I'll be your friend. I'll help you carry on. Oh, it won't be long till I'm gonna need somebody to lean on. Please swallow your pride. If I have things you need to borrow, no one can fill those of your needs that you don't let show. Lean on me when you're not strong, and I'll be your friend. I'll help you carry on. Oh, it won't be long till I'm gonna need somebody to lean on. Just call on me, brother, when you need a hand. We all need somebody to lean on. Just might have a problem that you no longer stand. We all need somebody to lean on. Stand up. There is a load you have to bear that you can't carry. I'm right up the road. I'll share your load if you just call me. Lean on me when you're not strong. I'll be your friend. I'll help you carry on. It won't be long till I'm gonna need somebody to lean on. Lean on me when you're not strong. I'll be your friend. I'll help you carry on. It won't be long till I'm gonna need somebody to lean on.
Before you sit down, just for a little fun experiment, put out your hands and feel what it feels like to lean forward without anything there. It's kind of tipsy, huh? And now turn to somebody next to you and touch hands with them. And feel what that feels like. To lean. Lean into it. Just exchange energy and feel how big that feels. Thank you. We need each other to lean on all sorts of times. Thank you. Just that little loving experiment with giving and receiving energy. Now, Rainer Maria Rilke is one of my favorite poets, and so many beautiful things we've read by him, but I found one this week that I hadn't heard before, and I've asked John to come and read it. It's about a way of giving, a way of being in this world that's a little bit different perspective on giving. Here's a microphone, John.
Yours isn't working either, Norma, just to let you know.
You gotta hold it close.
Batteries tested. Right, you want to read Wilkie?
Maybe.
May what I do flow from me like a river. No forcing, no holding back. That way it is with children. Then, in these swelling and ebbing currents, these deepening tides moving out, returning, I will sing you as no one ever has. Streaming through widening channels into the open sea.
Read it one more time.
May what I do flow from me like a river. No forcing and no holding back. That way it is with children. Then in these swelling and ebbing currents, these deepening tides moving out, returning, I will sing you as no one ever has. Streaming through widening channels into the open sea.
So glad you read that. Is my mic working?
It sounds like.
So, in the title of this talk, in the announcement that went out this week, I talked about the Native American PotLatch as an example of giving that's here in the Northwest Coast Native tribes, but I think it existed all over. I think it's existed in indigenous ways of living all over the planet. But this word PotLatch comes from the Northwest Coast tribes. And has anybody heard that word before? Right? Because we talk about bringing a potluck. And that's actually where the word potluck, the word never made much sense to me. Why potluck? But really it's in English trying to translate the Native American word potlatch. And that potlatch is a custom of balancing the economy. And Native peoples, people close to the land and in harmony with the earthways, knew that there needed to be a constant balancing going on. So if one family gained a lot of salmon one year, or had a lot of quail that they found and were able to hunt, they knew that they needed to call a big party of people together, and sometimes they even called other tribes to come, and they shared, so that it was equalized among everyone. The potlatch. So there were many types of potlatches and giveaway ceremonies, and I've been honored to attend some here in different tribal settings, and always a lot of elaborate work goes into creating gifts. The children work on tying things, everybody comes together and makes things, and spends time and energy and thoughtfulness creating different kinds of little bundles, right? Bundles with special medicine in them, or herbs, or all kinds of gifts that are made as a whole community to honor one another. And then a lot of honoring goes on at a potlatch. So it's a lot of thanking one another for all sorts of various things, and always, of course, thanking the Creator. So that's the potlatch. We need to find ways, more and more ways of practicing potlatch type things. We don't want to diminish it to a potluck. We want it to truly be that kind of honoring of Creator and the gifts that we have. So I've told this story before, but maybe some of you haven't heard it. Whenever I think about the potlatch, I just have to harken back to my ancestry and be very thankful for what happened with my grandparents. My grandfather, at a young age, by his 40s, had gained a lot of wealth and was the president of Nabisco Company. And his wife died, and then he met my grandmother, who was 20 years younger, and they fell in love. And then the Great Depression came along. My grandmother was a nurse, and she had a real big heart for giving. and wanting to be of service. And they started hearing about the Native American tribes were some people who were suffering more than others. And so they looked and looked for where they could go to help. So they moved to the Seneca Iroquois Reservation, where I grew up, in western New York. And they opened a grocery store. And my grandfather left Nabisco Company, he sold out his part of it, and they proceeded to give the groceries away because people didn't have money. And they created what was called in Irish the McCroskey, which was the bill, the tab, the bill. And they just had people coming and receiving their groceries and delivering the groceries in their little old station wagon all over the reservation and all over to white people too. But for many, many years, I was counting it up, and it was for 30 years. They kept the McCroskey because my grandfather died the year before I was born, and that's the year that he told my grandmother, write it off, write it all off. And so they figured out how much it was, and it came to over $250,000, which would be more like millions today. And that was my grandfather's parting act, was write it all off. Let it be, let it be. And so I grew up with my grandmother then being adopted into the tribe because they wanted to try to find a way to thank them. And I grew up biculturally that way, by being taken to all the native ceremonies and being brought as a member of the family into the Seneca tribe there. And I didn't really realize how different that was, but it gave me such an understanding of giving, not only from my grandparents, but from all of the wonderful gifts that the Native people gave to me as a child. Like always, every year I'd have a new pair of moccasins made for me. Many, many gift-giving experiences. When I got in my 20s, looking back on it, I realized, wow, I had an unusual experience for our culture. I got trained in some special ways of how to be in harmony, and I felt like, wow, I'm lucky to have a bicultural experience. So the PotLatch, it's ingrained in me, and I think that there's a lot for us to explore about how we can bring it forth more and more in our lives to save our culture. So our next song is one that Jen has written, and it's called Hungry Woman. Hungry Woman. There's still hungry people out there. Let's see what Jen brings forth from this creation.
I don't know if you mind my singing, but I just got back a few days ago from my own sort of giving. I was with my mom for about 7 months through her passing and illness, and so this is kind of in honor of her, but that path of giving, however it comes manifest in our world. So.
So many times, come to me. I'm a hungry, hungry woman. I've lost my heart and mind so many times. My old friend, you need more. I'll feed you if I can from the palm of my hand. You're crawling through my soul, looking up you all I have, but I'm crying too. When I am empty, how do I fill you up? When I am lost, what shelter can I give you? Take me as I am, I give it all away. Even my hunger, I share this with you.
I'm waiting for you. Take a deep breath, everybody, and I'd like you to go on a journey with me into thinking about what giving is in your life, what you've been taught that giving is. I think we have had many good teachings about giving in our lives, because you are sitting here, you're the kind of people that you are. And there have also been some misconceptions about giving that we've been taught. It dawned on me recently that those two books about giving, perhaps the two most beloved books that are read to children, that have sold millions of copies, are sending unhealthy and unhelpful messages to us and our children about what giving's all about. You know what books I'm talking about? The Giving Tree and The Missing Piece.
And what?
The Missing Piece. P-I-E-C-E. The Missing Piece maybe is not as familiar to you, but it's by the same author. And he writes about how there's this being that's like the shape of a circle, but it has a wedge cut out of it. And it tells the story of this little circle thing searching for this missing piece. And then when it finally finds it, it feels so elated and it's like a perfect fit. But then as it starts rolling around with its whole self together, it discovers that it's not doing the things that it used to do, and it misses a lot of those things. And so eventually the circle thing decides it's better off without this perfect piece, and it discards it and happily rolls and bumps away into an apparently self-satisfied future. And the Giving Tree is about, how many of you have read The Giving Tree or heard of it? Yep. And you remember it's about this relationship between an apple tree and a little boy, and as time goes on, the little boy needs shade, he wants to climb the tree, he wants to pick apples from the tree, then needs the wood from the tree gets chopped down, and then when the little boy is an old man, he needs a place to rest, and he comes and asks the tree if he can rest there, and the tree says yes, and the man rests on the stump that remains, and then it says at the very end, the tree was happy. Well, both of these stories have had some allurement for us because they became so popular. I do think they speak to ways that we act in life, because we've all been there. These stories speak to us because they're stories of our lives. How many of us have been in relationships where we give and give and give, yearning that we'll just be loved in return? It might have been when we were children, seeking the affirmation of our parents. We played sports to get our father's attention, or we always kept our rooms neat as a pin to get our mother's approval. Or maybe it happened when we got older and we stayed in and studied instead of going out and playing so that we got that A for the professor. Perhaps we found a person of our dreams who ignored or worse yet, abused us. But we kept on giving and giving to get them to love us in the way that we needed to be loved, until we turned invisible to ourselves and the rest of the world. How many of us have been like that giving tree? And I'd venture to guess that we've all been like that circle thing in the missing piece too. Feeling like we're incomplete, feeling like we're inadequate, feeling like we just need to find the right thing to fit into that gaping hole in ourselves. And so we've tried to fill it with all sorts of things, maybe drugs, alcohol, sex, food, whatever addiction or predilection we thought would work. Or at least numb us enough to forget our incompleteness for a while. Or we sought out that perfect person for our soulmate, the one who would fit just right and make us complete, engaging in serial relationships that were ultimately unsatisfying because things didn't fit our image of perfection and wholeness. Or maybe we found the perfect missing piece, and then lo and behold, we still weren't satisfied. So we discarded it in hopes of finding someone or something else that would better satisfy that hole, that craving. So how did these two stories all work out for us? How did it work out for us to follow these teachings about giving? Not too good, right? At best, it left us feeling like a shadow of our former selves sometimes, like a mere stump. Or maybe we were the piece that got discarded. Or perhaps you're still acting like that circle thing on an endless quest. These are illusions, maybe delusions about giving. And I think that these two stories are actually kind of dangerous. To be taught that we are incomplete, to be taught that we're somehow defective or at least insufficient, that we need other things and people to make us whole. So at the same time that we are talking today, lean on me, and that we need other people, there's a way that we've been socialized as humans, especially in our modern Western world, that we formed relationships around misconceptions about giving. And it hasn't really led to our wholeness. It hasn't led to a place of feeling worthy. There was a wonderful Jewish parable that tells about Zusha. He was a rabbi, and on his deathbed, he said to all those gathered round, "In the world to come, I shall not be asked, 'Why were you not Moses?'" And all of the people around chuckled because they knew that his father had had a lot of expectations on him as a youth, and Moses was held up as a great man to be. So he's saying to everybody, in my next life, I will not be asked, "Why were you not Moses?" I will be asked, "Why were you not Zusha?" Himself. So that really is the most important thing we have to be, right? We've got to be ourselves. Another Jewish theologian, Martin Buber, put it this way: every single person is a new thing in the world and is called upon to fill his or her particularity in this world. Every person's foremost task is the actualization of our unique, unprecedented, never recurring potentiality, and not the repetition of something that another, even a great other, has already achieved. So, being whole. As I was thinking about our unity community this week in relation to this topic of giving, it made me think about ways that we perhaps don't give enough thanks to a divine presence higher than ourselves. In unity, we often talk about I am God, God is in me, the Christ consciousness is in me, and that's really good. It's a really great emphasis, and I'm going to blend this together here in a moment, but there are other traditions that have had a lot more going on about praising the Creator and thanking the Creator. So right now we're heading into the Jewish High Holy Days, and they talk about a time of repentance for not having blessed enough people or not having been thankful enough. And then it leads into a time of great praise and thanksgiving. So they say a prayer that's part of every morning liturgy. It's called the Moda Ani. And it's something that humans are meant to say every day upon waking up. But they say it every day for sure of the High Holy Days. And it goes like this. I give thanks before you, living and enduring God. You have restored my soul to me. Great is your faithfulness. I wish I could say it in Hebrew for you. Maybe some of you can. Some of you may have grown up reciting that in Hebrew. I give thanks before you. Great is your faithfulness. Well, maybe some of us in more of a Christian background grew up reciting that 18th century old classic prayer before we went to sleep. Now I lay me down to sleep. I pray the Lord my soul to keep. Did some of you pray that before going to sleep? Well, that prayer actually has its roots in this Jewish custom of praying the way I just said. It's called the Shema, and before bed, Jewish people say a prayer reminding themselves that we are placing our souls in God's keeping while we're asleep. Now, we talk about the dream time and going into the dream time. Really, we are letting go into another dimension. And so it's a good thing to do, to put yourselves into the hands of a higher power, or guiding power as we go into our sleep time. So the Jewish prayer for gratitude is, thank you, God, for giving my soul back to me. Great is your faithfulness. It's like when we go to sleep, we're turning our soul over to the collective unconscious, the greater consciousness. And when we wake up, we're thanking Spirit for giving our soul back to us. I've often been struck by that line, great is thy faithfulness, or your faithfulness. And I grew up with Methodists singing that song, great is thy faithfulness, over and over again. Often we think of faith as something that we are meant to have. But in this saying that comes from the Hebrew tradition, we have faith in God, but it's really the other way around here. It's saying that God is the one who's having faith in us. Did you ever think of that? There is a higher consciousness, a creator, that is having faith in you every single day. I loved singing that old hymn, great is thy faithfulness. It said, morning by morning thy mercies I see. All I have needed thy hand hath provided. Great is thy faithfulness, Lord, unto me. So we enter into our day and we're realizing that God, Spirit, Creator, is faithful to us. All that we will need in that day will be provided to us. What a concept, huh? Have you really taken that on in your life, to no matter what happens in the day, to have an attitude of gratefulness that Spirit is providing you exactly what you need? There's something very powerful for me about asserting that. First thing in the morning to say, I am awakened and alive. I am a soul embodied, and I am grateful. I'm going to be alert and awake to notice the blessings all around me today. And Spirit has faith in me and in what my day might contain. That really gives me strength to go through the day. In the traditional Jewish morning liturgy, shortly after they say the Moda Ani, which is this thankfulness to God for God's faithfulness, they say what's called the blessings for the miracles of each day. They say, we bless God, the source of all, for giving the bird of dawn the discernment to tell day from night. In other words, the cock-a-doodle-doo that wakes us up. We bless God, source of all, who gives sight to the blind, who clothes the naked, who wipes sleep from the eyes and slumber from the eyelids. So these are the next prayers that are said, all the ways of being grateful, and they can go on and on and on. So this woman rabbi wrote a poem. She lives in Montreal, and she wrote a poem that's supposed to be a modern version of these blessings for the miracles of the day. She wrote, "Thank you, God, for bringing my son's football right up to the door, and for shocking me awake with his cold heels against my ribs. You teach me to distinguish waking life from dreaming. You press the wooden floor against the soles of my feet. You slip my eyeglasses into my questing hand, and the world comes into focus again. In the time before time, you collected hydrogen and oxygen into molecules which stream now from my shower head. You enfold me in this bath towel. You enliven me with coffee. Every morning you remake me in your image and free me to push back against my fears. You are the balance that holds up my spine, the light in my gritty, grateful eyes. Thank you, Great Spirit." So, how do you say your morning thankfulness prayers for miracles for that day? Pretty simple things that we can be thankful for that open our perspective to seeing blessings all around us. Rabbi Zalman Schachter, there's pictures of him here, like a picture of him back there with Rabbi David. He was a good friend of Rabbi David's, and he often came here. I learned of him in seminary days because he's world famous, Rabbi Zalman Schachter. He's reported to have had a conversation with someone once in which the questioner began by challenging him and asserting that he didn't believe in a God who let people be in this world in poverty and hunger. And wise Reb Zalman thought for a minute, and he said, "I agree. The God you don't believe in, I don't believe in either." Pretty tricky, I like that. The God you don't believe in, I don't believe in either. So there's lots of kinds of God. In the Jewish tradition, there's lots of ways of defining God, and traditions all over the world. But we have to get at that question, what kind of God do we believe in? And I like the understanding of a God in the metaphor which depicts Creator as a cosmic source of all blessing. And that prayers are not like beseeching and begging this Great Spirit to do something for us, but prayers are more like an act of getting our mind, ourselves in alignment with realizing that the cosmic blesser of the universe is pouring out blessings on us all day long. And what we have to do is turn on the spigot. So often we have got the spigot turned off in our lives, right? And that gets back to that Rilke poem that John read us. May I be a flowing of blessing to everyone around me. I love this book called The Path of Blessing, in which another woman rabbi, Marcia Prager, explains the traditional blessing formula. It's a formulaic way that most Jewish blessings and prayers begin, and it says, Baruch atah Adonai. Blessed are you, O Lord our God, sovereign of all creation. You've heard that before if you've come to any Jewish ceremonies. But this rabbi notes that the word Baruch, blessed, is the same as the word Breka or Brucha, and that word traditionally means fountain. So this shows us about the way that giving a blessing involves a certain flow going on, like a fountain. She writes, Jewish tradition teaches that the simple action of bracha, blessing, has a cosmic effect, for a bracha causes a shefa, which is the abundant flow of God's love and goodness pouring out. So like a hand on the faucet, each bracha or blessing that we utter turns on the tap. Jewish tradition tells us that we should make 100 blessings every day. And I think that Native American traditions maybe not have said it the same way, but same idea. Make 100 blessings every day. 100 opportunities to flow out, showers of blessings. It's another old song from my childhood, showers of blessings. Showers of blessings I see. There shall be showers of blessing flowing through me. And we're the conduit for these showers by what we choose to see and to say. You get it? You get how this is like maybe something we are doing, but it's pretty radical. It's pretty radical. If we would really make a practice of setting an intent to see blessings in everything that happens, and then to speak words of blessing, even when we might not be feeling like it. Lots of times we are uttering words of cursing. We are uttering words of blame and shame and putting people down just off the cuff. We don't even realize how often we do that. But what if we could develop this habit of gratitude and blessing and really let the words that flow out of us be words of blessing? If we did that as a practice all the time, I think we might find ourselves constantly in relationship to this something greater that is a great abundance. Our prayers of thanksgiving and mindfulness carve channels of gratitude in our minds and our hearts that actually could create neural pathways where these channels of thoughts from a higher source could flow through us more readily. So that's like John Wesley was saying, you know, was it the Wesley quote that was saying, we can create a habit of giving. A habit of giving that would actually cause us to, in our minds, have these channels in which flowing blessings would come. In my years of Vipassana practice, they used to talk about deep sankharas, or deep ruts, that get established in our minds, in our thinking. And in the Vipassana meditation, you're supposed to be going into a deconstruction of those ways that we've established habitual ruts in our minds. So I think we're going through this as a human race right now. We've got some deep sankharas, right? Ways of perceiving things that are not from this beholding of blessing and gratitude all around us. There is a presence that is never an absence, is what Michael Beckwith says. There is a presence that is never an absence. So the presence of the divine doesn't come and go. It doesn't. It's everywhere, infinite. There's no here or there. It's here all the time. So it's only our unavailability to it, our not paying attention or not setting the right intention or a good intention that has us think that there's an absence. But when we open to this presence, then we're opening the channel for the flow that is always flowing. And spontaneous giving can then happen through us. So giving. So coming back around here to giving. Giving can become possible beyond what we ever thought we could give. Because we are just the conduit, the channel for this source of all life to flow through us. Are you with me here? How radical this is? We think I can give according to my income. I can give according to my talents. What this is saying to us is that an act of faith in stepping into the flow of the infinite opens us to unlimited possibilities of giving. Your awareness can shape the circumstances, the people, the place, and the things, not the other way around. How much money you have, it's a weird thing, but how much money you have doesn't have to be the determining factor of how much you give. I don't have a lot of money, but the other day I was in the grocery store and a member of our congregation was there and she was in great need and she was crying and she didn't have enough money to pay for her groceries and she'd just gotten hurt and been to the hospital. my heart just went out to her, and I knew I had a $100 bill back in my car. And I went and got it, and I took it back in the store and gave it to her.
Wow.
And she started weeping and crying and rejoicing, and then started telling me about her creativity, that she has this music flowing through her, and she's wanting to record an album. It awakened her creativity. And it reminded me of that place in the New Testament where Jesus had already left this earth, and his followers were walking around elated by what they had experienced of the love and the light connection from this amazing being. And they were walking through the city gates, and there were a lot of beggars there. And there was this one lame man, lame from birth, they said, who was reaching out to them and said, "Please give me some money." And they turned to him and they said, "Silver and gold have we none, but such as we have give we thee. In the name of Jesus Christ of Nazareth, rise up and walk." And it said that as they touched him, he was open to receive the energy of that love. And he rose up, and he had not walked in his whole life. Now what miracle is that he rose up and started walking and leaping and praising God, it said. So there is so much more that we can give. We have limited ourselves so much, even in our best giving. Maybe we've gone to the fullest extent of our imaginations about what we can give, but there's a giving that could happen on planet Earth right now that is so much bigger than any place our imaginations have yet taken us. Are you with me on this? Are you getting what I'm saying? So Michael Beckwith at Agape says, when we re-engineer our imagination, it becomes an angel of God. We can see an outcome of goodness before it happens. That's our imagination. We can see a person who's in need, and we can imagine them fulfilled, happy, having their needs met. We can see a situation in the world and imagine good things happening there. But it goes beyond even our present paradigm. It really goes beyond our imagination right now. There is an exponential growth in giving that's being called forth from us humans right now. We have to accept and realize that we are in an evolutionary leap. It's as big a deal as that man who hadn't walked in 30 years standing up and leaping and jumping for joy and a whole new burst of creativity coming forth. I know some of us are tired and getting older maybe in our bodies, but I'm talking here about something that is available to all of us, right? It's a spiritual energy, and it's really more what giving is about than the material world. It's a powerful truth that when my vibration is lifted, I become impervious to lower vibrations. When I give out a blessing and set the strong intent to be in this universal flow of love, then I begin to participate in heaven. The Buddhists talk about it. Choose now. Nirvana samsara, nirvana samsara. What do you want? So we can be aware of the other world, the world of lack and greed with its separation myths, but we don't have to participate in it. When I set my intention, I am not governed by intrusions of the world of false perceptions. I want to say that again and say it with me. When I set my intention, I am not governed by intrusions of the world of false perceptions. So Michael Beckwith says, if you want to be in heaven, then you have to ask yourself, how do I bring blessing to everyone I meet? If you want to be in heaven, it's about living to bring value rather than to get something. It's about seeing the potentialities right there before us in whatever situation, whatever person is there, and giving from this source of unconditional love. You give to live until you live to give. You are showers of blessing. You are tremendous fountains of blessing. showers of blessing are pouring forth all the time from the cosmos. And we are the ones that need to pour it forth through us. Like just a little example, like the other day I was in the supermarket, and there was a woman there whose child was crying and running around causing a lot of havoc. And other people were getting disturbed and stressed out by that, and I heard people say, well, she should control that child. And I was working on this whole talk, and I just realized I should pause and pray a blessing on her. And so I did. I just paused, and I saw her hugging her child, and the child getting happy and soothed. And lo and behold, I walked around the aisles, and a little while later, I came there where she was, and I came upon her doing exactly that. Not that I created it, I don't think, but somehow maybe I participated in creating a field of blessing so that she could calm down and hug her child and not be embarrassed and just give the love. So we get moved into compelling right actions, you know, and it changes our perception, and it even changes our neurological system. We don't have to get all nervous and stressed and uptight. If this law of blessing is flowing through us, we could become a lot calmer. We could become a lot happier. In a way, it's like the drumming. It's like tuning into the rhythm, the true rhythm of the universe, of the cosmos, is a rhythm of giving. And yet it's not overgiving, and it's not, you know, trying to find the other person that's going to give something to us that we need. It's this balanced kind of giving. And yet there's just my last quote note here is that I often think about, okay, how are we really supposed to give and be like that Rilke poem about not really caring about the consequences when we really do need things. We need our needs to be met. And I think about that verse that said, behold the lilies of the field. They neither spin nor toil. And yet Solomon in all his glory was not arrayed as one of these. So there's something there in the Tao, you know. There is some not toiling that we need to get all the way through to. And here at Unity, this is my concluding note here, but we do need to thrive and to pay our bills. And for whatever all the reasons are within me or within you, we're not having enough money over the last 6 months to meet the expenses. And so it's hard to talk about money, and I don't often do this, but I realized when I was in the sweat lodge this week that there's a lot of reciprocity that happens in the Native culture that I don't think we're very trained in. And my part in that is I think I don't let you know what the needs are. I think I just push on and say I can do it, and I keep giving and giving, and I don't speak out about the needs enough. And so you don't know where to plug in, and you don't know how to meet those needs. And so I passed out a piece of paper on all of your chairs there, and I want, if you have a pen, take it out, or we've got a few extra pens that can be passed out to you. Joan has them there. And what I want to tell you is that I want to tell you clearly what's needed, and I want to say that this meeting, a lot of you come every week, and a lot of you just come once in a while, and that's all okay, because there's a continual flow of about the same number of people all the time, which works very magically. But in coming here, there's costs involved, and this is what we need. I just want to tell you what we need. We need 40 people to commit every week to giving at least $20 a week. And we need 10 people to commit to giving at least $50 per week. And we need 5 people to commit to giving at least $100 per week. And some of you are already doing that. So that's getting pretty specific. And that is what we need. If people did that, then we'd have what we need to pay the bills every month. So you've got a piece of paper there. And yes, I made the bottom line $20 a week because I thought when I go out to eat at Saucer's, I spend $20. Almost anywhere you go out to eat, you spend $20, and it's not all that much. And so that is what I put for the bottom line, but if you really can't afford $20, then something that you could also do with the offering plate that they do places is you could actually take something out of it. To get the divine reciprocity, I would trust. If we're really stepping forward. What I want to do is I want you to take that piece of paper and put it into the offering when we collect it here in just a moment. And put down, if you can put $20 in, if you can put $50 in, if you can put $100 in a week. Who are you? What are your resources? What are your exponential resources? Because I need to know. Because basically, we decided, we thought about on the board that we can't go on. We can't go on in this imbalance of, many, many months now of the bills not being paid. So we are one. We are you. You are we. We're in this together. And so you've got to vote. You've got to vote if you want it to go on. And the way that you vote is by just telling us. And I'm going to count those papers, and I'm going to do this for 3 weeks. And you can tell other people about it. But for 3 weeks, I'm going to count the papers. And you're going to put your name and address and email and phone number on it. And you're going to commit to this. And I'm going to find out, can we do this or not? Isn't that kind of a wild idea? Because we're in this together. We've got to figure out a way, does this want to keep existing? And if you have any other ideas, like Arlene has often run a 50-50 raffle. That's a good idea, but she's tired and doesn't want to do it anymore. So if others of you have ideas, you've got to come forth with them. So,
Norma,
yeah.
anybody wants to do 50-50 hours?
You're willing to assist them in doing the 50-50 raffle. That's when people give money. I think it was $100.